we're looking at oil prices continually moving higher. So I thought it was worth taking a little step back here to try and understand what's really going into and driving the price of oil. And it's a variety of things, but let me tell you this. The Biden administration is not blameless on this one. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Trish Regan Show. I am Trish. And yes, oil prices are higher. In fact, I predicted this as far back as last summer. Because naturally, once the economy gets back up and running again, after having been in such a dire situation, well, there's going to be more demand for oil, right? Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out. So one should know, one should expect that there is now greater demand and will continually be greater demand for oil. But then you complicate it, right? That's just sort of the fundamentals, right? The economy's reopening, people are traveling again. There's the need for oil. You couple that, however, with some of the policy choices of this administration, and you start to say, guys, like, no wonder this is in fact of your own doing. Because I understand they want to wean us off of oil and transition into green energy. I get it. But in doing so, by canceling things like the Keystone Pipeline, what happens is oil investors say, gee, do I really want to be investing in this right now? Do I really want to be putting more and more money into the infrastructure to get this oil out of the ground here in the United States when I know that the administration doesn't like the line of business I'm in, right? Then you lack that clarity. If you think the administration is possibly going to shut you down, then maybe you don't put all that money into the infrastructure needed to get the oil out of the ground. So naturally, that's contributing to the problem as well. And so now there's talk, Jennifer Granholm, the Secretary of Energy, is saying, well, maybe they'll access the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Maybe they'll even prevent exports of U.S. oil. I mean, that really doesn't make a ton of sense. Number one, this is a global marketplace. But number two, it just once again puts the U.S. at a disadvantage. You can be pro-green energy while simultaneously not trying to destroy the oil industry. Because, by the way, when nobody invests in this new equipment, then what does it do? It drives the price up even further. I mean, everything has an effect. There are consequences to policy. And that's perhaps what's so unforgivable, for me anyway, as I look at this. So much of this is entirely predictable. I mean, the inflation issue as well is contributing to oil prices escalating, which was bound to happen in part because of the Federal Reserve. I mean, the Federal Reserve has now printed more than $6 trillion since this whole crisis unfolded. They just keep printing money and there's no end in sight. So what do? They depress the value of the US dollar. Oil is priced in US dollars. So you see what happens. You need that many more dollars in order to buy a barrel of oil. So you put all these things together, right? A better economy, which is great news. You put together the better economy with the sort of strangle on the U.S. oil industry. Well, that's going to drive oil higher. And then you factor in what the Federal Reserve is doing, printing all this money, causing the U.S. dollar to have less value and therefore inflating the price of oil. And look, this was entirely foreseeable. Like I said, I've been predicting it for some time. In fact, I said by summer you could be looking at $75 a barrel oil. Sure enough, we got it. By the end of the year, 75 to 100. Hey, we're there. We're there. And it's not going to change unless we have more responsible policy in the works. You can push the green energy stuff while simultaneously not hurting American families, because you know what? This hurts American families. It really does. I mean, when gas prices go up like this, it doesn't affect the wealthy. It affects the middle class and poor Americans. The wealthy can manage it. And then you've got not only gas prices going up, but the cost of everything increasing, in part because energy prices are going up so much. So again, here we are looking at what feels like a repeat of the 1970s. I mean, I certainly hope not. But when you factor in all the things that they are doing wrong, you got to wonder, who's in charge? Who's making these really ill-informed decisions that are costing the U.S. consumer in more ways than one? I want to encourage you to go to trishintel.com, trishintel.com. Do get all your news and information there. We've got lots of story on the market, lots of stories on the markets, on the economy, on politics. And sign up for my daily newsletter there at trishintel.com. You'll get a copy of this podcast delivered direct to you in your mailbox, along with all the stories that my team and I are following. So it's really important that we have that way to communicate. Do go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.